Nice to see everyone. So take everything I say really lightly because there's no gravity to words. There's no lasting meaning behind it. And usually when I say something, it's kind of just gone the next moment. So it's not really permanent. It's impossible to describe what this is actually like because because you can't say one thing and say that that's it and that will be how it is. Because if you're being really honest, it's like, I don't know. My circumstance might change and there might be a lot of stress in the body. That's not up to anyone. And I think there was an assumption, like an expectation that I would never feel certain things or I would never think certain things. Um, or the body would be 100% sure about things all the time. And it wouldn't say it in words, but there was like an energetic belief that there would be some sort of resolve where I didn't have to struggle with things anymore. Like the body wouldn't have to feel anything about anything. It would just be like, oh, life is so easy and everything's perfect. And even the bad stuff is perfect. And I'm not saying that it can't feel like that sometimes when perhaps there is kind of like an opening in the body and things are perceived in a different way, but it doesn't stay like that. And when the body is also going through something extremely difficult and in a mind storm and kind of like stuck in really devastating fearful beliefs, let's say, it doesn't stay like that. The body's just working through something, and sometimes it needs to believe a certain thing, whether it be extremely hopeful, like, the best thing possible is going to happen because there's been so much belief in that lifetime that something was a possibility. Sometimes it's okay if it just stays there for a while. And then likewise, if it's going through an extremely difficult time, sometimes the horrific belief in an outcome, um, sometimes that feels really strong and you can't let go of it, like it just is believed and you can't really stop believing it. It could also just mean that something's being worked out. Like maybe you've felt that was underneath that was just there in the body for so long. And perhaps it wasn't able to emerge. You didn't even know that it was there. So it's actually beautiful that it's finally here. It's like finally able to be here. Um, it actually takes a lot to get to those places. And it's not that you get to it, it's just that it reveals itself when enough of the other layers have, softened or melted away. And then sometimes it feels like you're going backwards because it's like, I've never felt this fearful. Like I've never felt like this before. And perhaps you can't really imagine the future as much. So then it feels like that's it. Like that's it. And it can almost feel like forever, which is normal because the body has, again, never been there before. It didn't have those shields of protection, of believing that there's an actual linear timeline to things and a story within. Basically, you are the story. You are the story of, now I'm going through this difficult time, but dot dot dot. I don't know what's going on in everyone's mind, but there's more of a belief in that and an ability to live in that timeline. But here it's like it just is what it is. And so yeah, I can see why the body might freak out here and there, and it might need more support. Meaning like it might do these subtle coping mechanisms where, it's just trying to hold on to something. It's just trying to get relief somehow. And it just makes sense. And it's okay. And perhaps you also then realize that coping mechanisms aren't a bad thing. It's just understandable. It makes total sense. It's actually a beautiful thing that the body can do that. And so the more that the belief in the future was kind of being stripped away, and the more of my past story was kind of diminishing, the more I saw what this is actually like for this body, what it's actually like here. And I couldn't really compare it to anyone else anymore. I couldn't believe anyone else anymore because it just didn't matter. It didn't matter if what was here right now was aligning with anyone else's experience because it was just like, that's clearly not true. Whatever's here is just whatever's here. It's not a problem. It's not a bad thing. It's gonna have different flavors. And it's just clear that it's not up to me to dictate. And I like how simple this becomes because you see that you really see what it's like to be a human. I guess when the personal energy is there, meaning like whatever's happening has more of a it's happening to me kind of narrative. And certain things are a lot more preferred and there's more of a wanting and desire for certain outcomes. You can't quite see what's going on because you're the story, basically. And the story is never really true. It never really has any validity to it. So it's not that you're not experiencing what it's like to be a human there. That has its beauty as well. And there's no need to deconstruct it actually. It's just different and it's fine. But if that does soften, what I can say now is like this, you just see the foundational aspects of being a human. And it's the feelings and the thoughts have nothing to do with me. There's more of a sense of like, I don't really know what's going on. I cannot believe the thoughts at all. And yet they can still go around in circles and circles. And I can see why it's so difficult for the person to live with that. And so all they're doing is trying to like manage it and get away from it somehow, which I get. But here it's like it can go on. It's just kind of in the background. It's just like a machine. And it's never saying anything true. But it's kind of funny to see it like that, you know? It's just a strange thing. And so I think more the past couple months, it's been really interesting to see how the body is in stressful situations. Um, it's just interesting. And nothing is certain to me. Like I don't know anything. I don't know what the perfect answer is. I don't know. Nothing is definitive in that way. It almost largely feels like any outcome, yeah, okay, because there are no strong personal wants and desires anymore. There isn't a belief that some outcome will necessarily be better in that way, but you still can't deny how the body feels. That's in the forefront. That's the main thing. That's prioritized without prioritizing it. It's just the the only thing, really. So it naturally gravitates toward, let's say, more comfort and safety. Like it doesn't want to be in unsafe situations willingly. It just wouldn't really choose that. Um, so, decisions can be made from that place, but it's really not about a true belief that some other outcome will be my savior, like will be the thing that finally makes me happy. Eventually, it's just going to be the same as this because it already is the same as this, really. But anyways, I just think that it's like I used to wish that people who were sort of like in positions of power would kind of say that they don't know, because I think that is what created or added to a lot of the suffering here in the past, you know. I really thought that someone else had the answer, and I really thought that I needed to be like that. But it's a facade. That's not a possibility. And I'm not saying that they know that they're doing that. There could be so much belief and stuckness that it really believes that they know that their vision for the future, their dream is the answer, is right. So the more confident and sure in that way a person appears, it's like there's just more tightness there. There's actually more limitation there. And it's fine, it's okay, but you don't have to take it as, oh, they really know the answer. And what's more clear is just like, how do you know what's best for anyone else? Like, how can you really say that? And that's why I can't even push this on anyone because one, that energy's gone. That kind of is the personal energy to intensely favor something over another. Um, and like, I don't know. It's like you do you, you know? Like if you are having fun as you are, like great. I think I just speak about this because that was never enough for me. And I don't think that even having a relatively healthy life as me, like as Suzanne, not that that was really possible. I see that it's not really possible now. But even if that happened, it still wouldn't have been enough for me. Like I always just, there was a deeper longing here that I couldn't explain. I didn't force it. No one needed to tell me that it should be there. It was just there for the longest time, you know, and it kept me seeking until the seeking just stopped. And yeah, it is a bummer that the seeking never gets what it wants, you know? It never like gets the answer. It itself dissolves. I remember talking to someone a really long time ago, and yeah, it was really sweet because basically what they were just saying is that, oh, the more that goes, the more I lose, the more bliss there is in the body. And I wouldn't use the word bliss. It's just like the that label can feel more real at certain points, but I would not use that word at all anymore. It's just that the body has come alive, it seems like, because it's kind of just unburdened from yeah, all these wants and desires that are in a way kind of hiding the aliveness that's already here. Um, I mean, that's like a really simplistic description of this because it actually takes a really long time to like unravel all the wants and desires in all these different ways, and really see for yourself, like, is it really worth it? And it might be for a while, and that's okay. So, anyways, this person I was talking to was at the time he was studying sociology or something. And that kind of made sense to me. Like when you kind of understand that the environment itself affects the body, and that might sound really simple, but I think when you experience that energetically, like how much it's not separable, like it's completely one and the same. I don't like that word one, but like it's just like everything. How do you really separate yourself from anything? And I know that studying anything is probably just like personal descriptions and understandings of things, which is fine. So that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm more talking about like energetically feeling it for yourself, how there is absolutely no barrier or edge to anything. But yeah, some intellectual understanding can be helpful in some ways. I could see that. Yeah, if you'd like to interact, you're welcome to raise your hand. Hi, Selena.
Hi, Suzanne.
Nice to see you.
It's so good to see you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. You look so pretty in that color.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
I went to Chicago for my birthday about a week and a half back or so, and it seems like a part of me was left there.
Sweet.
Um, I kind of had an inkling this would happen. I mean, you never know how things are going to happen, but I just kind of had like this inner, like, life's gonna keep trolling me type of way, of just believing it would happen this way. But like the day before my 30th birthday, time started to slow down. And since then, it's just progressively starting to lose meaning. And um, time feels very slow right now. Sometimes in the last week or so, it'll stop altogether. And because I'm really used to having really horrifying, bad, energetic things going on inside of my body, and I'm used to that and I can handle that, seeing that there's nothing in the future that's coming to get me like a big monster is like the biggest gift I could have ever been given. And it's almost like you think you can see how you're afraid all of the time, because I knew that about myself and definitely saw that as my identity of like, oh man, I'm just terrified all of the time. Everything scares me. But then once that starts to go some, it's like, oh no, it's even deeper than that. It's much bigger than that. Because it was everything. It was everything. I was always afraid of what was coming, always. And
Mm.
everything I was reacting to, all of the um, organizing of my life and trying to get it to appear a certain way, it was all because these feelings in my body made it seem very likely that something in the future was going to come and get me.
Mm.
But I can't really get myself to believe in that anymore because it's
Beautiful.
like there's not a future coming. It's
Exactly.
just not.
Hmm.
It was such a sweet trip, and I made at different points little wishes and like little things of just like, I'd really like to be happy, or I'd really like to let my conditioning go, and just really staying with certain moments and just really touching into those ones. And it's just, I don't know, it really feels like I was given a gift.
Mm. Oh, that's so sweet.
I think what like is touching to me about it is that like it doesn't mean anything regarding life. Like anything could come in and it might still be awful. It might still be catastrophic or really panicky, or like my fears could still pop up. I could still get, embarrassed in a really unfortunate way, or I could, feel ostracized, or, whatever like personal fears come on. All of that stuff can still happen. But it's just, I'm not buying into the thoughts that tell me, like, oh, this is going to happen and it's going to come and get you. And like,
Nice. Yeah, exactly. You just don't know.
no. hard to talk about.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it's so much more beautiful. Um, yeah, words just don't touch anything. So it's like,
It's kind of funny, like the stories that'll typically come up when I'm having a week or so of like well-being. The thoughts that'll come up will be like, okay, well, if this goes away, at least you get to have it right now. Like at least it's nice and it's here and all of that stuff. And like some of those thoughts have still been appearing regarding this, but the fact that it's related to time then makes those thoughts really kind of funny and like that's
nice.
not relevant or related at all to this.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't really have to be worried about it in that way. That's just a new like thought that's trying to get me afraid of the future or afraid of what happens when it leaves or anything like that. And it's just, yeah, the
Yeah.
last week or so I've liked being here.
Mm. Oh, that's so nice to hear. Yeah. And you'll see more and more like the thoughts are just a record. That's it.
With other like, you know, periods of feeling like, oh, this is good or this is leading to something or whatever, like it would also make me feel like it would make me feel like, okay, well, this insight is really good and I'm so glad to have this, but I still have X, Y, and Z going on. So, like, I would maybe have an insight into, like, no self, but time would still be going. And so it would be, this weird stuff of like, this isn't matching my expectations. And so it would feel very strange. But again, because this is related to time and time starting to feel very like I can't really buy into it very much and I can't buy into the future, all of those as well are like pretty laughable because it's just like
Mm.
that's also not relevant. That's also
Mm.
not this.
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome. Yeah, you'd be shocked how much thoughts are based in time. But
yeah.
yeah, when you see it from that place, it's like, oh, it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it just really feels like right now, like not a whole lot has changed in regards to the day to day. You got to do the activities, you got to do these certain things, feelings appears, thoughts appear, all of that stuff. I just don't believe a future's coming. Like I just don't. It's not, and that's given me quite a bit of relief here because it's just seen that like if it's here now, I'm equipped for it because it's here and all of the other stuff that's popping up regarding like well there still feels like a contracted sense of self, there still feels like X, Y, and Z. It's like well there's no future where I need to get that resolved, so I'm not really concerned about it.
Beautiful. Nice.
And that feels really good.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nicely said. I like that.
Yeah, it's just been sweet and um this is, of course, I mean, it's just a story, but the fact that I've been struggling so much with turning 30, there was a whole year where it was like, I have got to work through this emotionally because I know I can't handle it. I'm not, it's just, I had a lot of personal feelings regarding it because I really wanted to accomplish something.
I
I really
understand.
wanted to accomplish something.
Yeah.
Um, and then, my birthday was here and it was just like, well, it's here and now I can't do anything. And it, again, story, but it felt like life was just giving me a sweet gift. Like, I know this is hard for you. Like, I know this has been hard for you. And now,
Oh.
like, it doesn't have to be so bad. It doesn't have to
Hmm.
be so scary.
That's so beautiful what you said because I can kind of see like the arrival of this 30th birthday in that story and the very understandable desire to achieve something by that age. The release of like this is my birthday could have also released the waiting for
Yeah.
something to happen before that time or by that time, you
It
know?
really feels like that's what
Yeah.
happened.
Beautiful. Isn't it strange how it's just like
Yeah.
um what you're striving for is the thing that's already veiling what's here.
Yeah.
What you're striving for, you know? Did that make sense? So what you're striving for is what's already here, but the striving for it is veiling that it's already here in a way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it really did. I like that you phrased it up that way because it was, I don't know how to put it into, the chronological to where it makes sense or anything, but it just really feels like because I wanted that to happen so bad, I wanted something so bad for my 20s. That it was just like, "Oh, okay, well, that story's done." Like that story's done. It didn't happen. So the story was able to just kind of like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's lost its validity because it didn't make sense in time anymore. It's
Nope.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, and then time started doing something.
Yeah.
Or I started doing something and seeing that time, however that works, because I don't know how that works. But
Well, that's why it just sounds like the loss of the hope for anything else, whether it be good or bad. And it's not you that makes that happen. It's kind of also obvious that yeah, you just didn't make it happen.
no.
It just happened to be so that there was this true belief that at this age called 30 that is also made up, um, something would or wouldn't happen. And then
Yeah. I've spent most of my life afraid and in fear and just really wanting to mean something to people,
yeah,
which I think is natural, you know.
mm, totally.
Um,
I'm sure you do mean a lot to people. You definitely mean a lot in this group, you know. You're
thank
very
you.
precious.
Thank you. There's when you're a bundle of walking social anxiety and then it's seen that like I'm not in any real danger.
Mm,
I'm just really,
Yeah. You're very safe. Even when people like you and love you or hate you, it doesn't matter. You're still safe.
yeah. I think that's all I've got to share this week.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much. So beautiful. I'm
Guys.
happy for you, even though it didn't happen to you, but I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Hi, Clee.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. I'm good. I think. Um, it's so nice to hear everything that's happening for Selena. It's so nice to hear.
Yeah.
Like almost, it's so strange hearing everyone's experience and the mind going, "Ooh, I hope that happens to me." You know, it's like, oh, it's so funny. In the same way that it says, "Ooh, I'm glad that didn't happen." It's just I also don't know what the hell happened the last week or two, but something has shifted in a way I like, in a way that is preferred.
Mhm.
Um, something has been understood. I think is close, but not it. I've been continuing to read this like CPTSD book that's been really, really helpful. Um, and I'm very grateful that I'm reading it now and not before, where I would have taken everything as 100% truth. Oh my goodness, yes, it's all right. I'm like, no, there are pieces that just don't fit here for me in this moment. And maybe they would have at other times, but some of them are just like, no, okay, cool. And I'm so unattached. I'm like, take the bits that work, leave the rest, not a problem. And
Nice.
it's 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 so hard. I've heard different conversations of people who say, don't go into spiritual, non-dual understandings of everything if you're deep in depression, because everything is nothing and nothing matters is not useful to someone who's got deep stories of I don't matter. Um, but at the same time, I and the opposite can be true. People say, no, if you really understand that nothing is real and nothing's important, then the depression can just disappear and it's easier to see. And I'm like, oh my God. Again, both of those things true for some people, not for others. Does that not tell us something? Um, and I can see that for me, it was neither and both. It's been all of that and none of that at the same time. It's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Nice.
And again, why I love these conversations, because we talk about the body and we talk about that the body is known, and I know that I know it. I know that it's here, but also I don't. And how do those things? How are they both true? I don't know. Are they true? I don't know that either. But this book somehow for me has enabled me that the inner critic, the loud asshole voice that I have now fully understand is the it is not, but it sounds like my mother, and it's easier to detach from it, is I think what I'm trying to say. There's something that's happened that I've understood, which means that it's very much easier to just go, oh, look, there's that voice again. I can do that about some things, but the more personal it gets, it's incredibly hard to go, oh, look, there's that voice again. But there's something about this book that really, it's essentially a lot of it is what we talk about. Like when a trauma happens, a so-called trauma happens in the body, here's the impact. And it's like the more I understand that, the easier it is to not listen.
Mm, beautiful. Yeah.
And yeah, it's been lovely. It's been, I've had a couple of days where I didn't, I'm sure they were seeking, but such dramatic reduction in seeking that I was, wow, I guess this is what it's like to like just be okay, for things to just be fine,
Mm,
to not constantly wake up and go, okay, there is definitely something I've got to do. I must have just forgotten it, or that I've done, there's always something I've done wrong or something I need to do. That's the repeat, repeat, repeat. And for a few days, that's been so quiet or not there or very sporadic. It's like, whoa.
nice.
Well, a bit like you were saying, Selena, like this is this is possible. Like, I don't realize how scared. I mean, I know how scared I am all the time, and as it drops, it's so much clearer in all the tiny, weeny, incy, wincy, crazy small moments. Like, what?
Mm,
I was afraid of that and that and that and that and that and everything.
that's nice.
Just how tiring, how obviously exhausting that is.
I know. Yeah. And you see how innocent it is because it's like there was trauma in the body. Like, how can it let it go? It just eventually kind of just feels a little more safe. And then it just goes on its own. And then you see how much fear there actually was.
It's kind of cool, like reading this book. There's part of me that's like, reading books. I know that I don't need to read books, right? I shouldn't need to read books. It's just happening. I don't need to read books, which is hilarious because that's a story too, right? Like,
Yeah. That's a certain way
there's
of
another
being.
teacher who I heard say that. Like, she's like, I woke up and I really looked at my bookshelf and I realized it was all unnecessarily and I didn't need any of this. And so there we go. There's a nice little belief that I can just tuck away in there. And I had to pull that one straight back out. I'm like, no, actually, I don't know why I'm reading this book. I don't read it every day. Some days I listen to 2 hours of it and then it, I don't, I'm also not like studying it. I'm not
I
sitting, which
understand.
would be okay to do, but I'm
Yeah.
not. It's
I
just,
understand.
it's this needs to be here. Okay. And there's like all these little nuances that I take so much pleasure. There's so much like pleasure, relief in to be spiritual. You don't need to read books anymore because you just know, and you know that you don't know. It's like, no, not that either.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And I think when people share about this stuff, it's about a momentary experience, but then it's always going to change. It's never going to stay like that.
And when you were saying earlier, when you tried to describe this and how it always changes, I was confused. Like it's almost like I couldn't grasp what you were saying by when I tried to describe this because that doesn't make sense.
Nice.
Like it's just like there's you have to grab at something to make it mean something, but there's nothing to grab at, so there's nothing to mean.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Reminds me of Alice in Wonderland, when she falls down the rabbit hole. And that I just always remember watching the Disney movie and like when she's falling and having no idea what's at the bottom, no idea that she's even fallen, that there's like clocks and rabbits everywhere and like where is up, what's down, how there's no moving forward, there's no going backwards, there's nothing is anywhere. And that seems to be how it is. And that whole movie is just like, what? Just what?
Yeah.
All the it's kind of how life feels at the moment. Like, huh? I thought that was that, but that's now not that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really fun when things that seemed very real and solid and the way it just becomes like, oh, nope, that wasn't true.
Is there anything, any of those for you that you particularly remember or stood out or that made the biggest difference or something?
Oh my God, there were a million. I don't know if I could because it's constant. It's like I think what you just described happened 1,000 times. So things were seen like that over and over in different ways. Um, but I mean, today I was just like, there was a lot of water in the sink that was going down all at once. And then I could hear it. Um, it was like all the pipes were interlinked or something like that. And then I was just looking at the toilet and like, how amazing is that? Like not knowing what it was, but it's just like I don't know what I'm really looking at, but like there's something amazing about it. But like it's not that it's yeah, I don't know what to make of it, you know? It's just maybe it's seen in a different way for whatever reason. I don't know. There was like a moment where someone said the word rainbow, and I was like, what is that? Like, that's not what that is. It's beautiful, but it's so clearly not what that is. It just felt so far away from,
Mm. Mm. Yeah, nothing as it seems.
no, nothing.
There's something in this book that I don't know if it was this book or some experiences I've had the last few weeks with my mom and my brother and my nana. And I felt so angry. I have been feeling angry and irritated and just so much anger and blame and irritation. Like I could just feel it everywhere all the time. Like if I try and write a post, it always ends up angry. Even if I try not to be, I couldn't not make it angry. This energy of irritation and anger just everywhere, 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 everywhere. and then I hated trying to manipulate it into not feeling that way. But then there's so much shame around, like, I don't even know what, I mean, I kind of know why there's some anger, but why am I like, there's too much, too much. No. And then I have no idea what I read, but something in this book, like, just clicked something for me. I think it was probably, it just kept saying over and over and over and over and over again some things, like how we feel unsafe all the time. And seeing my nana and my mum on 2 days in a row and seeing their behavior in this context, and seeing my, just all these things, seeing them at once, going, whoa. And realizing that this anger is such a big, it's just a big protection for feeling scared and sad and alone all the time. Like, if I really look at it, every single piece of this behavior, not every single piece, but a hell of a lot, is this very childlike energy of sadness, being lonely, feeling lonely, and scared. Just those three things bat each other, like, I'm lonely, I'm sad, I'm lonely, I'm sad, I'm scared, I'm lonely. Just some form of that over and over again, and how that wasn't safe. And so anger was a, let's put up a big wall. And so anger and defensiveness and passive aggressiveness, it just over and over, just everywhere, all the time, all the time. And have vulnerability, even though I can fake vulnerability or whatever, maybe not fake, it was authentic in what it could be. And I that's really helpful to see that it's been really a true effort, a true, real, honest effort to be as vulnerable as I could. But there was this thing that I couldn't see, that wasn't supposed to be seen, that I couldn't get beyond, this big anger. And now when I have these triggered moments, way more quickly I can ask myself, ooh, am I angry or am I scared? Am I angry, or am I feeling alone or rejected or abandoned? And it's so fast how it moves through now. Just seeing that piece, it's just
Nice.
like, no wonder I couldn't, be that perfect peaceful person, and now I don't care so much. it's
Mm-hmm.
it's really nice. No, I'm sad. I'm really fucking sad, and I it makes sense that I'm sad. And if my mum can't hold me, then fine, fuck her. There's still some anger there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. It
Mm-hmm.
makes sense that there's anger and there's sadness, and I have a
Totally.
safe space to experience it all now. And like, it's real. That's I'm suddenly seeing that I didn't feel life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
life wasn't fully there. Like, it really was. I'm breathing deeper again. Like, without mushrooms, although that happened too, but without mushrooms, I'm breathing deeper. I'm seeing things more. I'm slowing down. I'm really present. I'm less afraid of being really vulnerable, but being able to, like, honestly close and be okay. Like, so many things. My body, the stress in my body is reducing. I can lift heavier at the gym a little bit. So many tiny things that are making life go, oh, okay. Oh. And it's this, I just feel like it's this incredibly cool, it like human, whatever that, like, this human unraveling, but also it's beyond, it's just unraveling. There's this human
Mm-hmm.
unraveling because I said it here, but also a bigger unraveling that I'm not sure would have, there's a story too, but I'm not sure the unraveling, this had to happen. This part of the unraveling obviously had to happen. Like, there's no way I could do, I don't know, words are hard.
I know. Yeah. Just being like
I don't know.
just a person, you can't really see what you're seeing right now. It needed to be.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so wild how, like, you have to be like, there has to be the full, for me it's felt like, okay, I have to both really be the person
Hmm.
and know that I am really being the person for it all to click or unravel or whatever it is. Like, oh, it really feels like sadness or scared. Like, let it fully be there and let to go, oh, that none of that was me because I didn't have
Hmm.
control over one moment of that.
Hmm. Beautiful.
It's so it's so insane and confusing how people separate this this spiritual non-dual oneness thing, non-experience. How can that possibly be fully separated with humaning, whatever that is, with the experience of senses and trauma and body? Like, I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand anything, but I especially don't understand how they can be separated. I,
Yeah,
I, I can't speak to one without the other. It just, they're the
exactly.
same thing.
Yeah. And I think in like extreme, I don't know what's going on anywhere, but I think in extreme experiences where you really do feel like you're not the body, uh it could I could see how it could become a thing where you are completely detached from the body. And then there are like you're just kind of hovering around somewhere. But I do think eventually like there is a coming back down into the body. And not that that high experience is even needed at all. Um, but yeah, it was never separable, you know? It like it's everything. It's always been everything. Um, and I'm not sure if there's something in the human body where because we're so conditioned to believe and think and be a certain way and think that we are a certain thing, understandably. Um, sometimes it yeah, that's just not the full picture because it is kind of all made up. But to see that it's all made up, you can't see it from that place. That just makes sense. You have to kind of see that there is something unknown as well.
Just all unknown. It's
Yeah, and then
just,
eventually becomes all unknown. Yeah.
yeah. And then it's interesting because when I've seen people who speak so passionately, or what's the word? I don't know, kind of clinging to the out of body experience, like existing but not feeling the sense of the body. It's like, okay, okay, cool, but and this is absolutely a story, but my mind goes to like, but if you could experience that without having a body, then why have a body? You do have a body. So like, that there is a body. And
Yeah.
then, people, someone told me on I think I told you last time, someone told me on the call, I think you'd really like meditation. I think if you meditated for a long time and you really had those experiences of being out, I think you'd really like it. I
Mm.
think what you're telling me is that you like being out of it and you don't, even though my whole talk thing was about coming back to your body and that's a hard experience and that's okay.
Mm.
The only thing she had to say was, yeah, but you'd like going out. So the people who maybe seem to be stronger about having out of body experiences story, but maybe they're just avoiding the body as well. So maybe
Yeah.
not for some, but it sounds like
Mhm.
that's possible.
Totally. I mean, there's also a tendency for the person to want to escape the suffering. And in a way, there's so much, probably too much. Like everything's spirituality is kind of saturated. Not all of it, but um a lot of it is saturated with escaping suffering because that's how it's marketed. It's like how to get rid of suffering, how to end suffering. But that's not really how it goes. It's like actually you get so intimate with suffering. That's the only thing that there is because that is actual reality. And you see the non-reality of it, like you said, as well. Um, but you can't get rid of it. You can't like just dismiss it, you know?
It's like taking spiritual teachings from thousands of years ago, which are still perhaps worth looking at and listening to, but they were written in the time they were written in. And like we said, like anything you say is immediately moot as soon as it's said.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which,
I'm
yeah,
and I'm not saying that meditation isn't beneficial for some people. And I wouldn't even call it meditation. It's just like being. Um, so fine. But
yeah,
but often I think when you're seeing when there is like you see the trauma, it's here, you know, it's really full on. Sometimes you can't just be. Sometimes it's beautiful how you've kind of worked through it and wanted to get some intellectual understanding of it so that the body has complete permission to feel angry and sad and all of it.
yeah. I've got a friend who I share some of the stuff with, and she's having similar experiences ish. And sometimes she'll say, "Oh, I want to do that," and I'm like, "But I didn't do that. Like,
Mm.
I didn't." Book just appeared, and then I felt like reading it. Other books have appeared that I have no pull. I don't care. Like there's no order to anything. I like that.
Mm.
That's lovely. It's so this I want to say trust, but it's more like lack of trust has gone or mistrust has gone, and it's like obvious. It's
Exactly.
surrender. It's like a stupid word because it's there is you don't surrender. It's just what life when you don't effort to when
I
every
get it.
time I
Yeah.
try and say yeah when the control isn't there
Yeah.
and the mind
Yeah.
believes it's control. Yeah, it's just what's left.
Yeah. I mean, I think also this is where you see that the trust, distrust, it just doesn't make sense anymore. It just is. And
Yeah.
that's the same with everything else. Um, yeah, all the opposites kind of just vanish and it just is what it is.
It's interesting because even though I said that about trust and mistrust, it hasn't vanished here. Like I can see the two extremes.
Mhm.
I can see the two, and I might talk about I trust this person, I don't trust this person. But I can also see how that, I mean, trust is such a concept, like point to trust, that it's not real.
Mhm.
What I really
Exactly.
mean is safety, but what do I mean by that? Like,
Mhm.
there is just a, a yes and a no. And where's that yes and no come from? I have no idea. Like, my body, maybe
Mhm.
there's intuition or a gut feeling, maybe. But
Yeah,
sometimes
exactly.
there's no, it's just no.
Yeah.
Then the logic comes. It's like, well, it's because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, which you'll never really truly know why, but
And it's so weird. Like it's a yes or a no, but then the logic has to come in to prove that it was right or wrong. Why? Like, and then it feels like such a waste of time. There's so much of this, and it's not a waste of time because that's the story too. But it feels like there's such a waste of time on stuff that's just so unimportant. I
mm,
mean, nothing's important, but it becomes because in that moment, I guess it just like, whoa, that now feels so unimportant. Why was I doing it? Whoa.
I understand, yeah. Yeah. That's often how I feel as well. Like I've seen that n no matter what you're involved with, there will be kind of like a back and forth. Because how can you know exactly what's going on and what's right and wrong and what this and that is? It's like it's impossible to know.
And then I was just thinking, waste doesn't make any sense anyway. Like, of course, nothing's a waste. What? So I can do things that are more worthy to who? Worthy? What is it? What does that even mean?
Mhm.
Not like
No, there's nowhere to land.
really, really nowhere to land. It's like I don't know. I thought it feels like being in a swimming pool or something, and imagining there's a step to like you reach the step, or you swim up to from the deep end to the shallow end, and you think you're in the shallow end, but it's still really heavy, like deep, and you put your foot down, and like that it's actually not there, and you're still like, oh, I'm still not, still got, there's nowhere to literally like nowhere to land, nowhere to just okay, I'm here now.
Mm,
Nope, you're still not here. You're still on the way because you're always on the way because everything's always changing. But there's no, you're not on the way to anywhere. It's still just here. That feeling of missing something, kind of that's
mm,
how it occurs to me. Does that make sense? Like
mm.
imagining something's there, falling through. Do you get used to that? That got used to?
It disappears. It's normal though. Yeah, sounds familiar.
So it seems so it's so cool seeing how so many people seemed again story but so many people over the last couple of weeks that I know have had interesting experiences of things cracking open and things moving and having good days when they haven't had good days like that for a while or like just really big things breaking open and to me it's like how does nature know that it's time to lose their leaves. They don't talk to each other. They don't look at another tree, go, "Ooh, you're losing your leaves. I think I should." Like, there's no choice or thought or control, or it just happens. But it often happens a similar time. It's really interesting seeing that happen amongst the people who are around me. And I guess another, I guess it's still a belief, but it's something that sort of feeds that idea that there's this is all just happening and even there is no order necessarily, but it seems like there is. And so I don't know, it feels like I'm a leaf on a tree. Does that make sense? Like it's just happening to me. I think it's important about me and personal, about my mom and my childhood. It's not like even though those things also are true or real or exist or whatever, but it doesn't mean that I'm not connected. I'm not nature. Everything is just happening and some things happen together. And it feels a lot more like there's a letting go there as well. in that recognition that, oh, it's similar, and oh, there's no me, hands off again.
Hmm. Nice.
Yeah. It's nice not being quite so depressed and scared all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing, Cleve. It's nice to see you. I'm glad you're
Yeah,
doing well too.
thank you.
Mm.